You're listening to an Airwave Media Podcast.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end...
What will I become?
Senua's Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
Recorded in Chicago, Illinois, with your hosts, Ken, Matt, Neil, and Jeff. This is Triviality.
Hello and welcome to Triviality, the game where a lack of seriousness meets a little bit of knowledge.
You wrote a book?
Right off the bat. That is true. That was Ken. Ken, how are you today?
I'm good.
Doing well. Matt, how are you?
One of these hosts has written a book.
It's like an escape room. Like, which one is it?
Neil is the master of the segue, which Ken clearly has not taken
not
up.
mastered.
But why don't you tell us a little
belt.
bit about the master of the mullet, Neil?
Yes, we have a very special guest we'll get to in just one second. But
Patrick Swayze?
Unfortunately, not Patrick Swayze. We couldn't get him. But today's episode is actually going to be all Patrick Swayze themed. And if you're listening, don't get worried. It's not, you don't have to know anything about Patrick Swayze. I'm going to hopefully fill in some blanks. But today's episode is in honor of my first book. It's going to be coming out next week, April 26th. So we're doing this episode just to let you know one more time about the book this week and next week. And if you can, pick up a copy if you have the means, I'd really appreciate it. The week before and the week of release are very important to authors, and it'll help me hopefully get another book going. But yes, so the book is called Being Patrick Swayze, Essential Teachings from the Master of the Mullet. It's going to be released by Chronicle Books, and it's my illustrated gift book and comedic love letter to the life and career of Patrick Swayze. And I told the guys this once before. The way I broke down the book is I broke Swayze's career into 5 elements that I call feng shuizi. And those are tender strength, covering the versatility in his performances and balance of his skills, pure adrenaline, his dedication to his physicality and death-defying stunt work, hungry eyes, his effortless sensuality in life and on screen, peaceful warrior, the philosophy behind his characters and their actions, and the mullet, legacy of the man, the myth, and the mullet. So there's games, trivia, quizzes, all that good stuff. Really nice illustrations by Kyle Hilton. So yeah, I hope you guys can pick it up. Everyone here in the studio picked a copy up, which I appreciate it. So thank you guys.
Yeah.
But today's game is going to be all Swayze themed. And we wanted to have a very special guest with us today to celebrate. She is one of the stars of Trivial Warfare. She's the host with the most on Foreplay. She's one of our great friends. We're so lucky to call her a friend. She's a Patreon supporter at the Oakland 5 level. Carmela Smith, how are you?
Hello, everyone. I'm great. Very excited for you, especially Neil, but very excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. I know you've been working on your martial arts to get up to Swayze speed for this episode. But for those of our listeners who aren't familiar with you or who are, why don't you just give us a little bit more background for those who maybe don't know you?
Sure. I'm Carmela. I am one of the hosts of Trivial Warfare. It's a pub trivia style podcast, kind of in the same vein of Triviality. So if you like Triviality, chances are that you'll like us as well. I'm also the host of a puzzle game show called Foreplay. It is a game of connections. I actually am wrapping up season 8, and I will be starting season 9 in the spring. So around the time that this comes out, we'll be ready to go with season 9, and I'm having a lot of fun there.
We should have had seasons. I feel like that's more impressive when you say it 8 seasons. And we're still on season 1, but episode like 300.
Yeah, that is pretty impressive, though.
Yeah. In fact, we're about a month out from our 5th anniversary at the time of release. So
that's amazing.
Maybe we'll start season 2 then.
Yes.
I also noticed that you introduced her as one of the stars of Trivial Warfare. So can we also be referred to as stars of Triviality?
The stars of Triviality? Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Yeah, there's 4 of you. There's 4 stars on the Chicago flag. It works.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. That's a great
We'll
connection.
work on that Photoshop.
I call Fort Dearborn.
Oh, yeah. What are the 4 stars?
Oh, boy.
Put him on the spot, Neil.
The Bean.
Columbian Exposition, the World's Fair,
Hancock
Chicago
Building.
Fire, Fort Dearborn.
Fort Dearborn, okay. No, that was a great connection there, though, Ken. But yes, thank you so much, Carmela, for being here. Congratulations on all those seasons.
Thank you.
I'm trying to figure out which season of ours we jumped the shark in, because we probably have many times.
Season 1, because we're in season 1.
That's true. So right off the bat, we jumped the shark. So as I said, today's game is going to be Patrick Swayze themed. Hopefully you'll learn some things, but we need teams here. So I think, Matt, you and Jeff are going to team up today?
We are going to team up today.
And what's your team name?
What is our team name?
Well,
Jeff?
in honor of Patrick Swayze and, just kind of the feelings of, love in the 21st century, we're going to be Ghosted.
Ghosted. And before you become a ghost, you need to get your throat ripped out. So we're going to be the Throat Rippers.
For any of you who haven't seen Roadhouse, that's what that's in reference to.
Marshall Teague from Roadhouse gets his throat ripped out.
He does get his throat ripped out.
And actually, Marshall Teague wrote a review of your book. So let's read this review really quick before we continue, and then we'll get the rules. How about that? Does that sound good?
That sounds good, because I feel like I don't want to talk about the book too much.
I want to talk about the book.
Too late.
All right, so here's the quote from Marshall Teague. For all the fans that love the man and characters he's portrayed, being Patrick Swayze, essential teachings from the master of the mullet, author Neal E. Fisher, has taken a surprising humorous approach with a slant for the unorthodox perspective of Patrick Swayze's life and career, and encapsulates the spirit of the man who lived life fully, whose impact crosses the generational boundaries. A good read that will leave you smiling and fondly remembering a Hollywood legend.
Wow.
How about that?
That was a really nice quote.
Neely
And then
Fisher.
after his throat gets ripped out, then he can't say it anymore.
Right, that's why he wrote the review.
Yeah.
He didn't say it.
He could not say it.
His last words. And speaking of the book, if you do want to, if you do want to order it, we'll have the link in the show notes. You can go to trivialitypodcast.com/Swayze, all lowercase, or you can just go to Amazon, Target, Barnes & Noble, bookshop.org, your indie bookstore around the corner. Everywhere is going to have it. So feel free to pick a book up there. And last thing I'll say at the beginning of the top, or at the top here, is if you can't make it to a signing, I'm going to try and get some signings. You can email me at beingpatrickswayze@gmail.com. The publisher is giving me some book plates, and I'll sign them and personalize them for you, and I'll mail them to you, and you can put them inside your book.
Yeah, Neil doesn't want to talk about his book because he's too proud, and he feels like he's a shill, even though, it's the thing that he wrote, and we're not shilling for anyone but you, Neil.
Oh,
So
well, thank you. I hate promoting for myself, but I appreciate you helping me out.
We'll do it for you.
Thank you.
But first, need the rules?
The rules of the game are simple. 20 questions split into 2 rounds worth 10 points apiece. At halftime, there'll be a special swing round designed by this week's host. After regulation, players will enter the final round with the points that they've accumulated and will have a chance to wager 0 to 30 points on 5 categorized questions. At the end of the game, someone will be named the cream of the crop.
The cream of the crop.
All right, well, let's get going. So round 1, question 1. On August 18th, 1952, the world was forever changed when Patrick Swayze was born to his engineering draftsman father, Jesse, and his choreographer, dance instructor mother, Patsy. He was born in the 4th most populous city in the United States, for now, a city that Enron once called home, and a place Tom Hanks famously mentioned in 1995 or 1970, depending on who you ask. In what city was Swayze born?
I need more clues.
we're locked in.
It's
only 5 there.
currently the 4th most populous?
Currently.
I knew
Okay.
it too.
Okay. So I think I know 2 ways. Tom Hanks, he's in space. He's trapped. in
Famously had a problem.
The capsule. He had a problem. And also Houston is just the 4th largest city, so we know that, right?
Yeah. Mostly get it from the Tom Hanks angle, but it makes sense for how big Houston is. So
All right, we're going to say Houston.
The Astros used to play at Enron Field, which was in Houston, so we said Houston.
For right now, 4th most populous city in the United States. It's about to take over Chicago in the next 5-10 years, maybe even sooner. But the answer, Houston, Texas.
Well, we didn't change Second City when LA passed us, and we're not changing it now.
So Houston, Texas, where he was born. His mom owned a dance studio. It's sort of the best in the South there. It's where he trained. He actually trained a couple famous actors that we'll talk about later, but that's where he got all his training to go to Broadway and beyond. Let's move to question 2. Swayze's first feature film was 1979's Skate Town, USA, but he first made real money, enough to buy himself a DeLorean, starring in the short-lived television series The Renegades. The song Renegade is famously performed by Styx, who are named after the river in the underworld where sea nymph Thetis bathed her child to make him invulnerable. Except she missed a spot. Who was her child? And 5 bonus points if you can tell me how many total rivers there are in the underworld.
So they're locked in. This is Mr. Achilles, right?
Could be.
Yeah, because he got held by his.
But yeah.
He was held by his
Achilles makes perfect sense.
Achilles heel,
Yeah.
possibly.
And how many rivers?
I don't know. What's a good?
For some reason, I thought 3 was my
Well, the
first
3
guess.
rivers is you're thinking of Ohio,
Yes, maybe.
but
The
I mean,
Allegheny, Styx,
Ohio,
and whatever the other river
the
is.
underworld, hell. I mean, Ohio.
You know what my version? You know what my version of hell is?
Huh.
Listening to the band Styx.
Shout
Especially
out
when
to
you
Ohio.
Especially when you have too much
These
time
are
on your hands
some-
as well.
Yeah.
Ken just really hates the blue collar man.
Hades temperature takes over here from
I
Mr.
hate
KP.
Styx.
We're gonna say 3, right? Yeah, we're locked in with Achilles and 3.
It's good. I'm gonna say 4, just because, and we said Achilles. You got Styx, and then there's like 3 sections in the video games, so they're like sections of hell. So I'm gonna go with 4.
Okay, no bonus points awarded. One team was close. The answer for the question is Achilles. As Matt said, his mother put him into the river, but was holding him by his heel, so his heel did not get the invulnerability. And the answer for the rivers is 5. It's the river Styx, the river Acheron, the river Cocytus, the river Phlegethon, and the river Leth, or Lath.
How could I forget about the river Phlegethon?
Number 3. In the film adaptation of S.E. Hinton's bestseller, The Outsiders, Swayze plays Ponyboy's older brother, Derry. Most of us remember the famous phrase, "Stay gold, Ponyboy," uttered by a young Ralph Macchio. But do you remember where this phrase actually comes from? In both the book and the film, Ponyboy recites a poem entitled "Nothing Gold Can Stay." The poem, first published in the Yale Review in 1923, helped this poet win the Pulitzer Prize for Poetry in 1923 when it was part of a collection titled New Hampshire.
I'm trying to think if Thoreau was also a poet. I mean, he was from that area. He's from Massachusetts. That's where Walden is. It's close to New
Probably
Hampshire.
had time out there for writing poetry.
Yeah, true. And that is close to New Hampshire. I mean, that's probably going to be my most educated guess, but it's still probably not right.
I'm cool with it.
All right, we're going to say Thoreau.
More known for being a New Yorker, specifically Harlem. We just guessed Langston Hughes.
No points for either team, unfortunately.
A shock.
The poet whose collection titled New Hampshire won the Pulitzer Prize was Robert Frost.
Oh.
Yeah, Robert Frost.
God.
And
The answer not
Neal
taken.
is the cruelest host.
and speaking of The Outsiders, little fun fact with Swayze's gymnastic and dance background, if you remember right before the Rumble, they're all kind of jumping over fences, doing flips over the fences. He was teaching Tom Cruise and the other guys how to do some of those flips for that sequence before they went to the Rumble.
And thus started Tom Cruise's stunt career.
Let's move on to question 4. Last question dealt with the sunrise, and now we talk Red Dawn, where Swayze's character Jed Eckert helped a bunch of teens resist a Soviet invasion on American soil. Speaking of Soviet aggression, during a 1956 Melbourne Olympics, a match that became known as Blood in the Water was a water polo match between the USSR and this country, who were fighting for a victory at the Games amidst a revolution brewing at home.
Not a lot of water polo matches get a special name.
Yeah. Surprise Dookie.
Maybe they need like
1974.
WWE entrance music.
Floater from Down Under.
The floater from down under. New Zealand, Australia, 1978.
Yeah.
Right?
Classic match.
God, I don't know. You know more about geopolitics of 1956 than I do.
know, that's... But
Like,
But
I know.
that was on Jeff's dating profile. Huge into the geopolitics
Of
of 1956.
okay, I have a
Nothing
guess.
gets me going like the Soviet bloc.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Well, it doesn't have to be the Soviet bloc. They just had to have a revolution at home. So,
So you're in?
we're gonna take a guess.
All right. I was thinking Soviet bloc.
Makes most
maybe
sense.
Belarus or
Yeah.
something like that.
Somewhere in that area. Latvia, Estonia. It's way too late for the Spanish Civil War.
Do you mind if I go with my gut of Belarus? Just because I don't think I can really reason anything further.
Sure, let's do that then.
Belarus.
And we're going to guess Cuba.
Great guesses, but unfortunately no points. The answer is Hungary.
Oh.
So the match was named Blood on the Water after Hungarian player Ervin Zador emerged from the pool during the last 2 minutes of the match with blood pouring from his eye after being punched by a Soviet player.
Ooh, ouch.
Whoa.
And question number 5, Youngblood, the Swayze film, was my first exposure to Swayze. When my aunt would babysit me, I would watch the VHS over and over despite not knowing much about hockey.
And also, it's like rated R. It's like a hard R.
It is pretty hard R. The film follows Dean Youngblood, played by Rob Lowe, who joins the Hamilton Mustangs hockey team, led by Swayze's Derek Sutton. The Hamilton in question is a port city in Ontario, home to the Canadian Football Hall of Fame. What quarterback and perfect candidate for the Sports Illustrated Celestial Body issue is the only player to be a member of both the Canadian and Pro Football Hall of Fame?
I'm pretty sure I know this one, so we're going to lock in.
All right, so sports is not my thing, but he did say celestial body.
Okay.
So we're probably looking for the name of a planet or maybe moon or something like that.
There's Titan, Ganymede, Io, Callisto.
Johnny Ganymede.
This is Neal we're talking about here.
I thought it was.
I don't think he's going to go as far
I thought
as
it was
like
Dennis Pleiades.
I don't think he's going to go as far as that. So maybe the guy's name is just Moon.
Oh. The only Moon I know is Keith Moon.
Like Moon.
Moon.
You go with Moon?
Sure, let's go with
I can't
Moon.
get it from a sports angle, so it's just a guess. So
Well, there was a specific Warren Moon who happened to play in the CFL and
The
NFL.
Yeah.
Is that what we went with, Matt?
That's what we went with, not Jackie Moon from, was that Will Ferrell?
I read Neal like I read Neal's book.
Oh, the Jackie Moon was in the basketball one.
Yeah.
And I always forget the semi-pro.
Well, he said Warren Moon.
All right. Well, the clue I was going to give was he played for one Canadian team and 4 NFL teams, one of which relocated and rebranded, which would have been the Oilers to the Titans, and that was Warren Moon.
Right.
Points to both teams.
Moon.
I did it.
You don't know who Warren Moon is, correct?
Absolutely not.
Yeah, this means nothing to me.
And after 5 questions, I got the scores here. It's 30-30, so dead heat.
Cool.
Dead even? I don't know what the expression is.
Dead heat. That's what we call it. The old phrase.
All right. Let's move on to question 6. It was the summer of 1963 when everybody called me baby, and it didn't occur to me to mind. It was before Kennedy got shot, before the Beatles, when I wanted to join the Peace Corps, and I didn't think I'd ever find a guy as great as my dad. Now, those aren't words from my diary of my own sexual awakening in the Catskills, but from Dirty Dancing, perhaps Swayze's most famous movie where he played Johnny Castle, a street tough dance instructor with a heart of gold. Baby tells Johnny she was named after Frances Perkins, the first woman appointed to the U.S. cabinet, to which Johnny replies, Frances, that's a real grown-up name. Perkins, sometimes referred to as the woman behind the New Deal, was the longest-serving secretary in what department?
We can lock in.
All right.
So if she was involved in the New Deal, probably...
She wouldn't have been one of the bigger ones, like state or anything like that.
Yeah.
Interior?
Yeah, that's what I would go with.
Interior?
Yeah, because the New Deal was all social programs, pretty much. So
Yeah. I don't think Health and Human Services existed yet.
So yeah, let's go with the interior.
Okay.
And you're definitely right about the purpose of the New Deal. The Department of the Interior, I think, is more like national parks and stuff. We went with labor.
Frances Perkins was the Secretary of Labor.
Very
All
good.
right.
Good job.
Great poll there.
Just couldn't put it together. You didn't get what?
Siri apparently didn't get it.
Siri didn't.
We
get
got
that.
it, but Siri didn't.
Siri didn't like that question, and neither did I. All right, what's next?
All right, we'll move on to question 7. You hear the movie Roadhouse referenced on almost every episode of Triviality. And if you've been on the show, you know there's a giant poster of it behind our desk in the recording studio. The movie follows Swayze's character Dalton, a bouncer, as he tries to clean up a dive bar in Jasper, Missouri known as the Double Deuce. Speaking of Double Deuce, the number 22 has been worn by some outstanding athletes throughout history. 2 personal favorites of mine were in the NBA and the NFL. Name one of them after my clues, get 10 points. Name both, get an extra 5. So here's athlete number 1. He is the NFL's all-time leading rusher, whose accolades include 3 Lombardi trophies, a Super Bowl MVP, a 1993 MVP, and perhaps most notably to non-football fans, a mirror ball trophy from winning season 3 of Dancing with the Stars. Athlete number 2 is a 10-time NBA All-Star shooting guard who won a gold medal in 1992, a championship in 1995, and after 15 seasons, easily glided his way to the Hall of Fame in 2004.
Yeah, we're good.
Sanders. Was Barry Sanders on? I don't know.
I'm good with that.
Okay. And for basketball, I've got nothing.
You said glided, but I don't understand. Say Scottie Pippen.
Yeah, sure.
Not
Why
correct.
not?
He's 33. Scottie Pippen.
Pippen was 33.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Old Scotty the Glide Pippen.
Was somebody called the Glide? We don't know. Go ahead. Tell us the answer. Matt, tell us the answer.
The football player. I didn't know you were such a big Emmitt Smith fan, but Emmitt Smith.
Oh.
And then the basketball player would be Clyde the Glide Drexler.
Correct points. So the football player is Emmitt Smith and Clyde the Glide Drexler. Not personal favorites of mine who are number 22.
Oh,
yeah.
Very specific.
Very specific.
Right, he's got favorites in each of the 4 sports at each of the numbers.
Each of the numbers.
Who's your favorite 73 of all?
Ooh, who's your favorite 23 in the NBA?
Oh, that's a tough one. LeBron James, obviously.
Thank you.
Oh, boo. Carmela with a good guess, though. Barry Sanders was a good guess. He unfortunately never won a Super Bowl, even though how great he was being on the Lions. Yeah, but top 5 running backs of all time. Top 3, really. All right, let's move to... Top 2, yeah, true. Let's move to number 8. Filmed in Chicago, 1989's Next of Kin saw Swayze as Truman Gates, great name, as an Appalachia-raised Chicago cop avenging the death of his brother by the Chicago mob. In the film, his next of kin were Bill Paxton and Liam Neeson. But I want to ask you about my fictional next of kin on a family tree. For the most part, I've been like Karen and Gretchen in Mean Girls describing who Karen was kissing at the Halloween party. But thanks to social studies teacher Kevin Silberman on TikTok, I now understand how this works. So I'm going to ask all of you, if Patrick Swayze was my uncle, what would his grandson, Kenneth Jeffrey Matthew Swayze, be to me?
And I think we figured this one out, so I'm going to lock in.
Yeah, that was a lot of words. I have several of these, and I think it's a first cousin once removed.
That's what I wrote down, because the Swayze's child would be your cousin, and then their child's first cousin once removed.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I have a couple of them, too.
An easy way that I like to remember this, since you brought it up, Ken, is you just count the G's. So your first cousin, you share a grandfather and grandmother, right? So just one. Great-grandparents that you share would be your second cousins, and so on and so forth, and that's how it goes. And then the once removed has to do with basically your level in the genealogy. So we agree. We said first cousin once removed.
Points to both teams. The answer is first cousin once removed. Removed equals down a generation. It's another way you can remember it. So if Kenneth Jeffrey Matthew had a son, it would be my first cousin twice removed.
Okay.
Yeah. There you go. For all those family tree enthusiasts out there.
All 2 of you.
Number 9. One of Swayze's most emotional roles was in 1990's Ghost, where he played Sam Wheat, a murdered banker whose ghost attempts to protect his girlfriend from the person who murdered him. No stranger to vengeful ghosts of murdered people, Shakespeare used this device in 4 plays. Name 2 of those plays for 10 points and 5 bonus points for all 4. Just a note, there were ghosts in the play Cymbeline, but they were not murdered or vengeful.
Yep, that's the 2 I've got.
Good.
You done?
We're done.
Yeah, we're done.
All right. So they're good with 2. What are you
Bonuses
thinking,
are
Carmela?
strong.
First of all.
I have Macbeth and Hamlet for 2.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
I'm trying to think of what the other 2 might be.
I can't say
Maybe
specifically.
King Lear? It'd probably be a tragedy, honestly.
I read the cliff notes of King Lear, and I don't remember a ghost.
Why didn't you just read King Lear?
Because the cliff notes are faster. And I was in a classroom, the cliff notes were sitting there. I was like, this will be good for trivia.
Oh, okay.
And Ken said...
This is recent. This wasn't like high school.
Anyways, let's just lock in with the 2.
Okay, so Hamlet and Macbeth.
Yeah.
Oh, we went with something completely different and went with Macbeth and Hamlet. And also gave up on the other 2.
Clever.
All right, well, no bonus points, but full points, 10 points to both teams. So Hamlet has the ghost of his father. Macbeth has the ghost of Banquo. The other 2 plays, Julius Caesar, the ghost of Julius Caesar haunts Brutus before battle. And Richard III, it's 11 of Richard's victims haunt him before
Well, it
battle.
didn't really help, but at least I knew it wasn't King Lear thanks to the cliff notes.
That's right, or as you call it, King Lean, because it was quicker.
Oh, isn't it Cliff's Notes?
It is Cliff's Notes.
Who is Cliff, by the way?
He's the guy who doesn't like to read.
Yeah, I guess.
He's a
Although
heck of a
he
note
would
taker.
He doesn't
read.
want other people reading.
I was gonna say, he has to read everything. Like
He's a
even more
vengeful
so.
ghost too, because he hates reading, so he doesn't want anybody to read.
That's true. And speaking of ghosts, fun fact: the idea for Ghost came to writer Bruce Joel Rubin after he watched a production of Hamlet. When the ghost of Hamlet's father asks him to avenge his murder, Rubin thought it would be interesting to expand on that concept for 20th century America, and thus the idea was born.
And you just mentioned Bruce Joel Rubin, the Oscar-winning screenwriter of Ghost. He actually also left you a review, Neal. And he says, as the writer of the movie Ghost, I knew that when Patrick first said, the love inside, you take it with you, he would change and uplift the world. No one could have said it better. We are all kinder and luckier because of him. This joyful book shows how one man can touch us all and truly celebrates his remarkable life.
And that one man who's touched us all
Is
Neil Fisher.
is Patrick Swayze. But Neil Fisher has projected that through the ages.
Yes, I haven't gotten close enough to touch everyone yet, but I'm getting there.
COVID really slowed you down.
It did, yeah.
We weren't allowed to for a little bit.
All right, well, we're going to go to the final question of round one. In 1991's Point Break, directed by future Oscar winner Catherine Bigelow,
Which is what I think is Patrick Swayze's most emotional.
he gets pretty emotional there. He's a great.
When Johnny Utah shoots his gun up in the air and screams "ah."
That's right. I mean, they should have been a couple. Honestly, is what should have happened. Swayze played Bodie, the charismatic Zen surfer guru who leads a gang of bank-robbing surfers known as the ex-presidents, who wore rubber masks depicting the 36th, 37th, 39th, and 40th presidents of the United States. If Keanu Reeves' character, Johnny Utah, arrested each of the ex-presidents in order of their age, youngest to oldest, of when they were inaugurated, in what order would they have arrived to jail?
All right, so they're locked in. I would say that probably Reagan was the oldest, right?
Yeah, that would probably be pretty good. They all feel just so old.
Yeah.
Reagan was probably on the older side. Carter was also probably on the older side, but he's pretty old now, and he was president in the 70s, so maybe he was on the younger side.
All right, so let's say Johnson. No, let's say Nixon was the youngest, then
Okay.
Johnson, then Carter, then Reagan.
Okay, that works.
So Nixon, Johnson, Carter, Reagan.
Okay. So I feel like Nixon's on the older side just because I know he was Eisenhower's VP. So we went Carter and then shockingly Johnson, Nixon, Reagan.
All right, so in order of their age when they were inaugurated, the youngest was the 39th president, Jimmy Carter, at 52 years old, 111 days. Next oldest, 36th president, Lyndon B. Johnson, at 55 years and 87 days. Then 37th president, Richard M. Nixon, at 56 years, 11 days. And lastly, 40th president, Ronald Reagan, at 69 years old, 348 days.
All right, 10 questions in, first round complete, and our scores look like this. 50 points for the Throat Rippers and 85 points for Ghosted.
All right, you guys are doing pretty well. Before we get to the swing round, just wanted to mention one more time that Carmela is a Patreon supporter of ours, which we truly appreciate. And if you'd like to join her in supporting the show, helping us continue to grow, you can go to patreon.com/Triviality Podcast. Jeff, every month we do a Patreon bonus, which is more trivia focused, but then also a crop drop. What do you like about both of those formats that we get to do due to the thanks of our patrons?
Well, it's kind of like we are, Neil. It's a little bit of left brain, a little bit of right brain, right? So we've got our serious, it's still pretty relaxed, but we have a lot of fun with it. Our regular trivia episode, and then on our wackier side, we like to do a little bit of an AMA. Just throw us your questions. We're going to give our honest, off-the-cuff feedback, and it gets goofy, and sometimes Neil reads us his nightmares, and it's a truly bizarre space for us to explore different aspects of our personalities.
And Neil's psyche.
If you're at all interested in either of those, you get them both if you support us on Patreon for at least the Oakland 5 level or higher.
All right, well, let's get to the swing round here. Today's swing round, I'm taking a portion of my book. Actually, it's one of my favorite games from the book. It's called Swayze or Philosopher. The setup is simple. I'm going to read you a quote, and I want you to tell me, is it from a philosopher or is it a quote from a Swayze movie? All right, number one. If you push too hard at anything, you'll get the exact opposite of what you're trying for. Everything contains its opposite. Number 2, the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance. Number 3, with love and patience, nothing is impossible. Number 4, if you want the ultimate, you've got to be willing to pay the ultimate price. It's not tragic to die doing what you love. Number 5, you ask a philosopher a question, and after he or she talked for a bit, you don't understand your question anymore. Number 6, man is the only creature who refuses to be what he is. Number 7, believe in yourself, imagine good things, and moisturize. Number 8,
I remember when Nietzsche said that.
Number 8, you don't just stop living because you lose someone. Number 9, and those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music. And number 10, I look in the mirror and all I see is a young old man with a dream.
These are indeed suspiciously difficult.
I think I wrote Swayze for all of them.
Yeah.
Philosopher Swayze. It's a trick question.
Well, he is a philosopher in many ways. And before we cut away, we want to read one more review here. This is from Melora Hardin, who was, the quote speaks for itself, but she played Jan Levinson Gould. No Gould?
No Gould.
She played Jan Levinson on The Office. You might know her from that. Patrick Swayze was my first jazz dance teacher. He would pull up to the ballet studio on his motorcycle, tight jeans and leather jacket. I'm picturing it now. And all of us 13-year-old girls would giggle and secretly swoon.
Some of us who are 30-year-old men do the same.
Yeah.
So.
Patrick was a great teacher and a lovely person. I was shocked when he remembered me years later when I danced at the Academy Awards. He was presenting right after our number, said, "That was wonderful, Melora. So great to see you out there dancing so beautifully." I reminded him that he had been my first jazz dance teacher, and he smiled with pride. I always remember Patrick and his wife, Lisa, who was also a beautiful dancer, and such kind souls. Neal's book is such a wonderful and funny tribute to Patrick.
That's a very nice quote.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of quotes, let's see how these teams will do. We'll give them a second. We'll be right back.
We took it all. We brought them to our land. An endless night, ember hot and icy cold. The rage of the earth. We made this curse. Carved it in the blood on our backs. We did not see. We could not, but she did. And in the end,
What will I become? Senwa Saga. Hellblade 2.
Play it now with Game Pass.
All the answers are now locked in for the swing round. It is Swayze or Philosopher. So when you read the book, there will be 10 more clues because there's 20 total in the book. But I chose 10 for today's contestants, so let's go through them. Number 1, if you push too hard at anything, you'll get the exact opposite of what you're trying for. Everything contains its opposite.
We said Swayze for the first one.
Yep, since it can go either way, we said Philosopher.
The answer, it is Swayze, as Jack McCloud in 1995's 3 Wishes. Number 2, the only way to make sense out of change is to plunge into it, move with it, and join the dance.
I think we went with Philosopher with that one, right? Yeah, Philosopher.
And we went the other way, said Swayze.
That one?
I sense a
It
theme.
is Philosopher.
Oh, boy.
Alan Watts.
Oh, we're going to kill these
Yeah,
guys.
this trend is bad.
Number 3, with love and patience, nothing is impossible.
For this one, we said Swayze.
We said Swayze.
Philosopher.
Oh, my God.
Daisaku Ikeda. Number 4, if you want the ultimate, you got to be willing to pay the ultimate price. It's not tragic to die doing what you love.
That's got to be Swayze, right?
Well, it doesn't have to if we're right, because we guessed Philosopher.
This would be probably the most famous quote of Swayze as Bodhi in 1991's Point Break. Number 5, you ask a philosopher a question, and after he or she has talked for a bit, you don't understand your question anymore.
I think Philosopher for that one.
Yeah, Philosopher.
God, I hope so.
Philosopher.
Oh,
Finally.
on the board.
The quote is by Philippa Foot. Number 6, man is the only
It's a
creature...
philosopher that you don't really care for, right?
No, it kind of rubs me the wrong way. That's right.
Tarantino loves him.
Tarantino loves Philippa Foot. Number 6, man is the only creature who refuses to be what he is.
We had Philosopher
As
for
did
that
we?
one? Yeah.
And it is Albert Camus, Philosopher.
Oh, thank God.
Number 7. This one.
Pronounced Camus.
It's
Camus.
Albert. Thank you.
Oh, Albert Camus. This one, there was a lot of back and forth on. Number 7. Believe in yourself, imagine good things, and moisturize.
So I said Swayze right away, and Carmela said it's a trick.
Yeah, it felt like a trick because, it sounds like something an actor would say, which maybe I convinced Ken to say philosopher.
Hey, you've been right when we go the other way. We said Swayze, so.
The quote comes from the delightful character Vita Boheme in Tu Wong Fu. Thanks for everything, Julie Newmar. Swayze.
Oh, well, of course. Of course a drag queen would say that.
Number 8. You don't just stop living because you lose someone.
That one we said Swayze.
Yeah, we figured it had to be
Swayze.
Ghost. We said Swayze.
And that is Daryl Derry Curtis, played by Swayze in The Outsiders, 1983. Number 9. And those who were seen dancing were thought to be insane by those who could not hear the music.
Philosopher.
Philosopher.
Yeah, it
that
feels
one.
like a Plato nonsense thing. We said philosopher.
And it is philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche.
Oh, one of the other nonsense ones.
And finally here, number 10. I look in the mirror and all I see is a young old man with a dream.
We said Swayze.
We said
Yeah.
Swayze.
And that is Swayze singing lyrics from his song, She's Like the Wind.
All right, impressive swing round from the Throat Rippers over there. They went 8 out of 10 to add 40 and come to a total of 90 points. Wasn't quite enough to catch us in the swing round, but I feel like they've got some good momentum to carry through. Matt and I over at the Ghosted have a total of 115.
We'll be ripping throats in the second round.
Probably. I don't know.
All right, let's go to round 2. Question 1. Swayze was an FAA licensed pilot who loved to fly his twin-engine monoplane made by a company founded in 1927 and based in Wichita, Kansas. What is the name of this famous aviation company known for their models, the Caravan, Skyhawk, and Skyline, that helped Wichita become the air capital of the world?
Whatever you want to go with.
Yeah. We're locked in.
Okay.
And that was a short question, too.
Good job.
All right, so airplane manufacturers, I know Boeing. Maybe Cessna.
Yeah. Could be Cessna.
Because he's talking about a small
They're smaller
plane.
planes. Yeah, there's going to be a smaller plane. So Boeing is definitely not going to be.
Cessna's the only small plane manufacturer I can think of. So let's say Cessna.
Yeah.
Shall we? Yeah.
That works for
That's
me.
a heck of a guess.
Mm-hmm. Because we went with the other one, Boeing, because I don't know anyone else.
The answer is Cessna.
Woo!
Yes, Swayze had one. He'd fly a lot with his wife. They both had licenses, and they'd fly from their ranch to California back and forth. Good stuff like that. Number 2, joining Oliver Platt's Paul Bunyan and Roger Aaron Brown's John Henry, Swayze roped his way into playing the legendary Pecos Bill and highlighting his real-life cowboy skills in Disney's Tall Tale. When it comes to facts, not legends, this muscle is the body's longest. Due to all 4 actions of the muscle being demonstrated in the cross-legged position, the name comes from the Latin for tailor and is known as the tailor's muscle since tailors once sat in this position.
I don't know individual muscles.
I have a guess.
All right.
Based on what he said.
Matt likes to guess gluteus maximus anytime we get a question about muscles.
It's the only muscle that matters. Do your squats, kids.
Oh.
So what it sounds like he's talking about is a muscle that runs like all the way down your leg and possibly up into your
Yeah.
back. I'm trying to remember. I do yoga, so I'm just trying to remember what the yoga guy says. All right, me and Carmel talked a little bit, and we can't really come up with anything good, so we're going to tap out on this one.
Got no knowledge here, but Neil said something about the 4 positions or something, so we figured quadriceps?
No points to either team. I see Carmela has an exercise ball behind her, so maybe she can look up some stretches for this muscle. I had to learn what it was for the question. It is the sartorius muscle, longest muscle in the body.
Where does that run?
And it does run down your leg, like Carmela was saying. It runs from, I believe, your hip to your ankle or so. It's long muscle.
And did you find out about this muscle from pain that you've been experiencing?
It may have been in a WebMD search. Question number 3 of round 2. The early 90s signaled a huge shift in the depiction of drag queens and queer stories. 1995 saw the release of Tu Wong Fu, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, starring Swayze, Wesley Snipes, and John Leguizamo playing 3 drag queens on a road trip who changed the lives of a small town. 1 year prior, in 1994, Australia released a similarly plotted film starring Guy Pearce, Hugo Weaving, and Terrence Stamp, also on a road trip, but this time on a tour bus. Influencing both of these films was a 1990 groundbreaking documentary, not about French liberation in 1944, but the drag ball culture of New York City and the African-American, Latino, gay, and transgender communities involved. Name the title of the Australian film I just told you about, or the 1990 documentary, for 10 points.
I got both of them.
I have no idea. It might be something that I've heard, and I'll say, oh, when it comes up.
I know I haven't heard of the title of the Australian movie, although I definitely have to check it out now. And I did recently hear about the documentary, but I can't remember the title.
Yeah,
So,
not like a John Waters piece or anything.
no, definitely not. We could just tap out, I guess.
Double tap.
Yeah.
The double tap, yeah, in honor of the double deuce.
So the Australian movie is Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. It's a great movie. I highly recommend it. And the documentary, which I also highly recommend, is Paris is Burning.
All right, well, 15 points to the Throat Rippers. That's correct. The Adventures of Priscilla, Queen of the Desert. Great movie, and I believe they made it into a musical. And then, Paris is Burning. Really, really influential documentary. Very important movie and a great one to check out if you can. All right, number 4 of round 2. In the book, I have a filmography pairing guide, which instructs you on what to eat and drink while you watch all of Swayze's movies. So if you need something to eat or drink and you're not sure what to do, especially for a movie you haven't seen, that'll help you out. For 1998's Black Dog, where Swayze portrays a truck driver named Jack Cruz who is manipulated into transporting illegal arms, I say in honor of his co-star Marvin Lee Aday that you should chew on some meatloaf while actor Meatloaf chews up the scenery. Speaking of Mr. Loaf, what is the title of his 1977 debut album that has sold over 43 million copies, is 14 times platinum, and is the best-selling album in Australia?
I know that one.
Mm-hmm.
Big Meatloaf guy, Jeff?
No.
Mm-hmm.
What about the food?
No.
Still no.
Too much ketchup.
Is this Bad Out of Hell? I know that was his big song, but I don't know if that was the album too.
That sounds like a thing. It's Meatloaf related. Most of my Meatloaf knowledge comes from his cameo in Spice World.
That's pretty great.
Yeah, I don't really know that much. Bad Out of Hell sounds good.
We'll lock it in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds good to me too. Is that what you had, Carmela?
Yep, that's what I wrote down. The album art is it's supposed to be, I guess, him on a motorcycle flying out of hell.
Very subtle.
Bad Out of Hell.
Very subtle.
Yeah, very subtle
album art.
And then there's Bad Out of Hell 2, which came out in the 90s. Back into Hell, which it's him going in the other direction. So
Electric Boogaloo, I believe.
Yeah,
right?
obviously.
Points to both teams. It is Bad Out of Hell. For our Australian listeners, or for anyone really, if you want to go on YouTube, Meatloaf was the headliner for an AFL Grand Final, which is footy's Super Bowl, basically. And he did a performance where he is very, very out of tune, and I feel bad for him. But if you can check it out, it's a crazy video. So just look up Meatloaf AFL Grand Final, and you'll see what happened.
A very popular search, I imagine.
Yes. All right, number 5. As Jim Cunningham, a motivational speaker and secret creeper, Swayze subverted audience expectations with his performance in Donnie Darko. The film deals with a lot of philosophical, scientific, and pseudoscientific theories, one of which Spider-Man recently helped us understand. In the film, the ominous elderly woman Roberta Sparrow wrote a book called The Philosophy of Time Travel. Chapter 1 dealt with this specific universe, where abnormal and paranormal events transpire. It's a duplicate of the primary universe, and is a universe that shares its name with a conversational transgression, or a straight line touching the outside of a circle at only one point.
Yep.
So those are just some clues to help you out with the name: a conversational transgression or a straight line touching the outside of a circle at only one point.
We're locked in.
So I kind of get it from the circle. That's going to be a tangent, right?
Yeah, I kind of remember that from the movie as well.
Yeah, so tangent.
Mm-hmm.
Very popular on this show, The Tangent.
Yeah, not kidding.
Yeah, Triviality lives in the tangent universe. Points to both teams. That is correct. If you remember, Roberta Sparrow was the woman who kind of was creeping around that Donnie Darko kept seeing.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie in a hot minute.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's been a very long time for me as well.
I don't feel like it's going to be anywhere near as good as I used to think it was.
It'll still be good. It's got Swayze in it.
Has Swayze in it. Here's a little fun fact. 2 fun facts for you. Seth Rogen's first movie. He's in the crowd during the presentation.
Oh, not just that. He's got a speaking part.
He has a speaking part.
Yeah.
And then Swayze's character, Jim Cunningham, as I said, he was sort of a creeper. If you remember, if you haven't seen it, there are some videos, some sort of infomercials for his system, and they filmed on Swayze's ranch, and Swayze used all of his own old, outdated 80s clothing to make him look a lot more slimy.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's funny. All right. Scores are all tied up after the first 5 in round 2. 135 points apiece.
Wow.
Wow, it's tied.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Let's see if we can break this tie up with question number 6. 1114 is a Swayze movie that came out while I was working at Blockbuster and is an underrated indie thriller and neo-noir with converging plot lines. It's pretty fun if you want to check it out. On 11/14/1960, this American civil rights activist was the first African-American child to desegregate the all-white William Frantz Elementary School in Louisiana. Also the subject of Norman Rockwell's painting The Problem We All Live With, President Obama invited her to the White House to view this gem of a painting and told her, "I think it's fair to say that if it hadn't been for you guys, I might not be here and we wouldn't be looking at this together."
I got it.
Okay. Do you remember?
I know I could pick. I'm seeing the picture in my head.
It's killing me because there was a discussion about some. They wanted to ban. She has a children's book that she wrote about her experiences with this, and I feel like some school district wanted to ban it recently.
I believe it.
And
people want to ban everything.
I heard they want to ban Triviality for its nonsense and lack of seriousness.
How about just sometimes we're boring?
Yeah. Irrelevant information. I don't know her name. I don't think it's gonna come to me. In conclusion, we don't know.
After suffering greatly trying to remember her name, we couldn't pull it, so we're just gonna have to tap out.
All right, well, let me put Jeff out of his misery. Ruby Bridges is who you're looking for.
Ruby Bridges is
Thank
correct.
you. That was agonizing.
Yeah, but try to throw a little hint in there with the gem of a painting. But yeah, Ruby Bridges. Yep, she had a book, as Jeff said, and yeah, pretty crazy
Couple,
that
actually.
It was 1960 that happened. That's for sure.
Yeah. Everyone thinks that, desegregation was so long ago, but I mean, she's still alive and, it's not that long ago.
All right, well, let's move on to question 7. In 2004, Swayze starred in George and the Dragon, loosely based on the legend of St. George and the Dragon. George may have fictitiously slayed the dragon, but the film was sadly never victorious at the box office. However, a much more successful adaptation of this legend, St. George Killing the Dragon, was a marble Stiacciato relief sculpture by what 15th century Florentine sculptor who wasn't much of an inventor until his much later Testudines phase in New York City.
Comfortable enough to lock it in?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
If you trust me, Ken.
Sure.
My thought was it was a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah.
It's always a Ninja Turtle.
Yeah. And I know that we think of him as an inventor, but I think Da Vinci did a lot of sculpting when he started.
That was Leonardo.
Yeah.
I'm having a very off day. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Da Vinci.
So we're,
Hey, Leonardo.
we cracked the code, and we're going with Da Vinci.
Oh my god.
I did not go with Da Vinci. If he's wasn't really an inventor until his time in New York, that would have been the smartest turtle, Donatello. So that's what I went with.
He does machines.
Points to one team. Carmela got my clues right away. It is Donatello. Yeah.
He does machines? What does that mean?
And for the folks at home, Testudines is just the word for turtle, for the turtle family.
Oh.
Yeah. So if anyone's really into turtles, they would have gotten that one right away.
I like turtles.
Me too, Matt. Me too.
All right. Number 8. Keeping Mum is a British dark comedy and lesser-known Swayze flick where he plays a horn dog golf instructor, wearing a thong at one point, who flirts with the vicar's wife in a small Cornish village. Many of the village's problems are solved by an elderly housekeeper with a flair for murder. If this story took place in fictional St. Mary Mead, the murders would be solved quickly by the intuitive deductions of what elderly spinster and Agatha Christie amateur sleuth.
Neil loves his Agatha Christie.
I do. I read about one Agatha Christie book a week, kind of, get my emotions down at the end of the night. I kind of relax with them.
Mm-hmm.
And I read about murder.
Okay. Oh, is that what you read about?
Do you know any of these characters?
The only Agatha Christie character I know, I don't believe, is the correct answer here.
I gotta read some books.
We started that 5 years ago when we started this podcast.
Oh yeah, why change now?
We haven't done it yet.
Good point.
I think, I mean, there are two main detective-y kind of Agatha Christie characters. There's Poirot, who's a man, and then there's Miss Marple. So I'm pretty sure this is probably going to be Miss Marple.
Yeah.
Sounds like a good answer. We said Poirot.
Encyclopedia Brown.
Calling St. Mary Mead home, the elderly spinster herself, Miss Marple, is the correct answer.
It's kind of like Murder, She Wrote.
Murder, She Wrote is basically, sort of an adaptation of Miss Marple, Yeah, Miss Marple is, in between knitting and whatnot, uses town gossip and her own interviews with people to, unbeknownst to anyone else, figure out the clues in the murder before the police, usually. And she's very smart with her deductions, sometimes laying traps for the criminals, which is really funny. Okay.
Killing them.
She kills them in cold blood herself.
Judge, jury, and execution.
Right, yeah.
She's the original Dexter.
Death Wish is based on Miss Marple.
It's a more extreme Home Alone.
Yeah, right. All right, number 9. In 2007, towards the end of his life and career, Swayze took a different direction, back to his roots in the theater, to perform the role of Nathan Detroit in a production of Guys and Dolls that was staged at the Piccadilly Theatre in London's Broadway equivalent, known as what?
Okay, these guys are locked in. Is it the West End?
I think it's the West End.
Yeah.
So that's usually what I hear in reference to British theater is West End. So
we're going with that.
West End boys and East End girls. We said West End as well.
Yep, if you're not in New York on Broadway, the next best place you can be is in the West End in London. Points to both teams. All right, well, we're at question 10 here at the end of the second round. I think the scores are still pretty close, so we're going to see what happens after this question. During one of the most famous SNL sketches of all time, Patrick Swayze and Chris Farley work their butts off to become a Chippendales dancer. What song with the opening lyrics, "Everyone's watching to see what you will do," is playing in the background while Swayze and Farley dance Duel It Out?
I know that.
Oh, so these guys are in? I actually have no idea. I can picture it, but I can't hear it.
I think I've seen the GIF more than I've heard the song.
I can see the GIF in my head, and of course there's no music. I'm trying to parse it out from the lyrics.
It's a Tangerine Speedo. It's never
Sadly
Tangerine
not.
We don't have enough Tangerine Speedo. Speaking of bowling for soup, we don't have enough Tangerine
Speaking
Speedo.
of bowling for soup.
We don't have enough Tangerine Speedo questions on the
Let me
podcast.
tell you, that karaoke place had 10 bowling for soup songs.
Wow.
Why?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Who's that for?
You?
I guess for me.
I don't know
All
this.
right, we're out.
Matt, I think this is everybody's working for the weekend.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we said.
All right, the lyric, "Everyone's watching to see what you will do." Yep, that's "Working for the Weekend" by Loverboy.
Yep, Loverboy.
Points to Ghosted.
Makes sense.
All right, so it was quite a round we had there. We only added 20 points, Matt. So we're gonna bring Team Ghosted up to 155, but going into this final round with a very impressive 175. That would be the team at the Throat Rippers.
Ooh.
Very nice. And we're excited to wager the points. But before we get the categories, let's read one more review here from Thomas Lennon, he's an author and a screenwriter and an actor, but you probably recognize him from Reno 911 and countless smaller comedy roles, I would say. Mm-hmm. And he says, "I was recently watching Dirty Dancing with my son. I would intermittently pause the film, turn to him and say, when in doubt, be like Patrick Swayze. Swayze was both a lion and a lion cub at the same time. Neal E. Fisher's wonderful book is a fun read and a great way to remember that there used to be a more complicated kind of man. Dare I say, a real man, a man called Patrick Swayze. Neal E. Fisher's book is a delight to read, a must-have for any serious Swayze fans library."
Well, yeah, thank you for reading that, Ken. Thank you to Thomas Lennon. Maybe one day we'll get him on the show. I don't know. I'll will it into existence or just stop, or keep emailing him until he says yes.
That'd be lovely. We'd love that.
All right, so the scores are pretty close. So I'm going to give you the final round categories here. Category 1 is Swayze in hip hop. Category number 2, North and South. Category 3, The Beast. Category 4, Swayze and Disney. Category number 5, Being Patrick Swayze.
All right, all the wagers are now locked in. So let's get the questions.
All right, question 1 in the category of Swayze and hip hop. Swayze's performance in Ghost had a surprising influence on the hip-hop world, as the term Swayze, or Ghost like Swayze, has since been used in countless rhymes by artists like Tupac, Jay-Z, the Notorious B.I.G., and even the Lonely Island on their SNL digital short masterpiece, Lazy Sunday. Later in life, Swayze embraced his popularity in hip-hop by appearing in the music video for Murder Reigns by this artist, whose name was spelled out by J-Lo in 2001 and is a favorite of con artist Billy Fire McFarland. Question number 2. North and South. North and South, a successful television miniseries in the 80s, followed the friendship between a Northern and Southern soldier during the Civil War who became best friends while attending West Point, but later found themselves on opposite sides. The Northern soldier was from Pennsylvania. Swayze played Ori Main, the Southern soldier, whose family was from this state, where eating its official snack of boiled peanuts is almost as beloved as the official state tree, the sable palmetto, which graces its flag. Number 3, The Beast. In 2009, Swayze's last project was the television show The Beast, which he filmed in Chicago while undergoing chemotherapy for his pancreatic cancer. The show is about an unorthodox FBI agent who toes the line between right and wrong, and not about this enormous legendary beast and bird of prey that exists in popular mythology of the Middle East, including appearances in Sinbad the Sailor. The beast may have had the drive and power to stay hungry and devour, but I doubt that it ever sang "You're welcome" while carrying off creatures as large as an elephant. Number 4, Swayze and Disney. Swayze's first professional gig was performing as none other than Prince Charming in 1972 for the Disney on Parade tour. The modern era sees Prince Charming as either a stock fairy tale character saving damsels in distress or a term for the perfect suitor for love. But as we know, the most famous iteration is Prince Charming in Disney's Cinderella from 1950. Most people don't realize that he actually had a name. Do you remember it? If not, ask Seinfeld character Sue Ellen Mischke, as she was an heiress to a company sharing his name. And number 5, Being Patrick Swayze. One of my favorite shows recently, thanks to Julia of Misinformation, is a quiz show called I Literally Just Told You, hosted by Jimmy Carr. 4 contestants are quizzed on some general knowledge questions to bank money, but the majority of questions are written live about the facts and events that have taken place during the actual episode. Everyone should check it out on YouTube. As for the question, at the beginning of this episode, I told you that for my book, I divided Swayze's life and career into a set of teachings known as Feng Swayze, which is divided into 5 two-word Swayzean elements. To get your wagered points, name any 2 of the elements I mentioned creating for the book.
That's cool.
How dare
And
you make
rude,
me remember something?
but cool. I appreciate
All
it.
right. Let's mull these over, and we'll be right back.
All right, it looks like all of the answers are locked in. I actually had a really fun time listening to Team Throat Rippers go through some of these questions because it made me feel like I actually still know how to write questions, even though I get beaten down by everyone for how long they are with all my clues. But it made me feel good, and I won't hurt myself later.
Before
As an extreme clue writer, I sympathize, and you're doing great, Neil.
Oh, well, thank you. Well, I appreciate your clues all the time. I think you're a wonderful question writer as well.
Thank you.
before you read the questions again, we give our answers. We got one more quote here from Stacy Weidlitz.
Stacey Weidlitz, yep.
Yeah. Composer for
She's Like the Wind, with
right?
Swayze, yep.
With Swayze. And this is a little bit more of an emotional quote, so I just wanted to say it now, and then we can continue having some fun. Reading Neil E. Fisher's book brought back a lot of fun and poignant memories for me. I'm proud that the song Buddy and I created, She's Like the Wind, still lives on, and that our names will forever be together. Buddy was a great friend, and I miss him terribly.
Yeah, very nice quote from him. Yeah, that song went to number 3 on the Billboard 100. So it was pretty popular.
Swayze sang that?
He sang it and co-wrote it with him, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And actually, he was trying to get that song made for years and years, even on the Outsider set with his demo tape. And finally, it was put into the soundtrack of Dirty Dancing when they needed a song for a montage.
Awesome.
Yeah. All right, so question 1 was Swayze and hip-hop. Basically, I wanted to know whose music video did Swayze appear in. It was called Murder Reigns, and the artist had his name spelled out by J-Lo in 2001, and was a favorite of con artist Billy Fire McFarland.
So for 25 points all the way down, to start with, we said Ja Rule.
Yep.
We wagered 30 on this, and I think I told this story before. I remember hearing the song and thinking that J-Lo was asking him if he was Ellie. She says, R-U-L-E, Ja Rule.
And I had the exact same story myself, always thinking it was Ellie. It is Ja Rule. And I don't think Billy McFarland's nickname is Fire, but that was just for you guys for the Fire Festival disaster. All right, number 2 in North and South. I was looking for the state that calls boiled peanuts its official snack and has the sable palmetto as its official tree and on its flag.
So I think Carmela knew this outright. I knew it because Stephen Colbert introduced boiled peanuts to the guys on the Friendship Onion podcast. That's Billy Boyd and Dominic Monaghan, who played Pippin and Merry in Lord of the Rings. And I think we agreed on South Carolina, yeah?
Yeah. If you never had boiled peanuts, I recommend them. It might just be like a Southern thing, but I think they're great. So...
we kind of just straight knew it from the Palmetto State. We said South Carolina.
Points to both teams. All right, number 3, the Beast. This one was the most fun to hear deliberations for. I'm looking for a Middle East mythological beast that existed in stories like Sinbad the Sailor. I said it may have had the drive and power to stay hungry and devour, but I doubt it ever saying you're welcome. What is the name of that beast?
Yeah, so we were going off of pure fantasy knowledge at first, and then we realized he's talking about Maui from Moana with the quotes, and The Rock plays Maui, and the mythical beast is The Rock.
Yeah.
ROC, I believe.
Yep. I remember seeing in version 3.5 of the Dungeons & Dragons Monster Manual a very large white bird.
Nerd!
Which had a dolphin in its talons for scale, and that was The Rock, ROC.
So the drive and the power to stay hungry and devour was sort of a meme for a while because that was The Rock's rap verse on Face Off, Tech 9. And you're welcome. Yep. Maui played by The Rock, ROC. That is the correct answer. Points to both teams. All right, number 4, Swayze and Disney. I was basically just asking you, what is Prince Charming's actual name from Cinderella in 1950? He normally doesn't go by it, but he does have a name.
Yeah, again, for 25 points. Not too sure on this one, but something deep inside me wanted to say Humphrey. So we just said Humphrey.
We wagered 30 on this, and if my Seinfeld memory tells me, Sumitsky was a heiress to the O. Henry candy bar, so we said Henry.
Points to Ghosted. It is Prince Henry. You were close, Ken, with the H there.
The tide has turned.
I was holding out for Humperdinck.
The tide has turned against us.
No.
And the final question in the category being Patrick Swayze, one of my favorite shows I've discovered is called I Literally Just Told You, hosted by Jimmy Carr. You can find all 6 episodes of the first series on YouTube. And basically, like I said, they write questions live during the episode on top of normal questions. And I just wanted to know, can you name any 2 of the 5-word Swayzean elements for Feng Swayze that I mentioned at the beginning of the show that are in my book?
Carmela had this right off the bat. Good memory.
Yeah. So I put Pure Adrenaline, which I believe is the 2nd category, and Peaceful Warrior, which I believe is like the 4th or 5th one.
Wonderful. How many points do we have on this one, Matt?
20.
And we had the mullet, because you can't not go the mullet. And I've been singing it in my head all day. Good thing. Helped me to remember Hungry Eyes.
Points for everyone. The 5 were Tender Strength, Pure Adrenaline, Hungry Eyes, Peaceful Warrior, and the mullet.
All right, it all came down to that final round. There were some blows being thrown back and forth. But much like Patrick Swayze, we were being nice the whole time because it wasn't yet time to not be nice. The scores, though, in the final round ended up with 250 points for the Throat Rippers. And today's cream of the crop, Team Ghosted, 285.
The cream of the crop. Nobody does it better.
You blocked my throat rip.
The Throat Rip Throaters is our new name.
I tried to rip Jeff's throat, but he put his hand up by his throat. I couldn't get past it.
Great job by both teams.
He was wearing a scarf.
It was a chilly day. It prevents all throat ripping.
Yeah, great job, guys. I was hoping everyone would enjoy the questions and some of the clues, learning a little bit about Swayze, but more so about trivia.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit about love.
A little bit about love.
And ourselves, to be honest.
Yeah, that's right.
I feel like a new man.
Basically, yeah. So if you can, if you've enjoyed some of the content that we've given over the past few years, and some of my bad jokes and impressions and whatnot, if you wouldn't mind picking up a copy this week or the week of release, which is next week, that'd be very appreciated by me. You can go to trivialitypodcast.com/Swayze, SWAYZE. I'll put some links there, but otherwise you can just go anywhere, Amazon, bookshop.org, Target, Barnes & Noble. Pick up the book. And if you'd like a signed copy, just email me at beingpatrickswayze@gmail.com. I'll send a book plate. And I appreciate all the support from all of our listeners and friends.
Support your local bookstore and Neil Fisher at the same time.
Neil
right.
E. Fisher.
Neil E. Fisher.
Neil E. Fisher, which no one knows this, but there was a producer in Hollywood named Neil Fisher, same spelling, and I kept getting emails about movies he produced and had to pretend it was me, and I was just getting sick of it. So I said, I'm just going to throw my initial in the middle. So, yeah.
Anytime anyone asks you what the E stands for, just give them a different answer every time. Like, never what the E actually stands for, just something completely different.
I love that idea.
Well, Carmela, thank you for joining us so much. We always love having you on the show. Any parting words for today?
No, I had a lot of fun talking about Patrick Swayze and hanging out with all of y'all. As I mentioned at the top of the show, I'm on a couple different podcasts, Trivial Warfare and Foreplay. You can check those out on any of your local podcatchers. And I occasionally shout into the void on Twitter. You can find me there at TWA First Lady.
All right. Well, we can't wait until the next time we can all hang out together in person again, Carmela, because you bring such a light to every room you enter, and we're so lucky to call you a friend. So thank you for spending some time with us today. Oh, of course.
Bring a big old bucket of boiled peanuts next time.
Bring some boiled peanuts.
Don't tempt me.
I'll try them again. I don't think I liked them last time, but I would give them a go.
So support Carmela and all her endeavors, and we appreciate you. Thank you so much for giving me some time to talk about my book and these crazy long questions with all the clues for Ken, Jeff, Matt, Carmela. My name is Neil, and that was Triviality. Number 2.
This is a ride.
It is, yeah. Just don't make any notes until you hear Renegade. All right.
Every single question on this page is a paragraph.
I know.
I know.
It's a classic Neil.
I tried to make them short, too.
This is the Cliff Notes.
The first question was really short. Yeah, exactly.